As you've also read in the paper, the bids, and Councilman referred to, the bids have been opened, and the initial winner was Tudor Saliba out of Southern California. There's a great deal of controversy around this, primarily regarding changes to the bidding process that was approved by the board. The bidding process was originally supposed to be the top 3 technical bidders, and then those 3 were supposed to be opened and then added, and then the weight was then added to the numbers of the bid, the total of the bid. This was changed in August, and they opened all 5, and since 70% of the scoring was weighted towards the cost, Tudor Saliba, a California-based company, won the bid. This is very controversial, and we've been working with many of our friends in the community around this. Again, the challenge is accountability. I don't think, and so how do we hold people accountable for changing things? Obviously, the High-Speed Rail Authority gave the manager of High-Speed Rail the authority to make some changes, but so it's going to come down to the definition of what is a substantial change.
And someone would argue this is not substantial.
I guarantee someone will argue this is not substantial. I think any of us would probably argue it's very substantial, but what are the moves that come from that is unclear at this time.
Well, when I read those stories, it occurred to me that this is the lawyer part of my brain. Why aren't one of the other 3 unsuccessful bidders, who would have been the sole 3 bidders, suing?
And that is a question I had put forward as well, including to some of the...
And they still have time to do it, I guess, but have they made any sounds that...
I have not heard any sounds, but I would certainly imagine that the number 2 would be very curious about this as well. There's always, in a project this big, most construction companies would want to be very cautious. There's a lot more work coming down the road,
Well, I understand the politics of it. The other thing which I haven't mentioned yet, and maybe you're going to get to, is the story is that the successful bidder has a long history of recouping its low bid through significant change orders.
Indeed. They have, certainly here in the peninsula as well, and up in the city. They've got a long record of that, according to the papers. They're very politically savvy as well. They understand local government and state government. It is a real challenge, and it'll be interesting to see how the state and the Senate Transportation Committee in particular responds to this. I know that Senator DeSalia is not a big fan of cost overruns, and he's been watching the Bay Bridge project, a different company, but could be similar. And high-speed rail is much more technical than a bridge. So.
And John, I recall from last year when they announced this bidding procedure, where, as you stated, they would look at the 3 best bids on a technical basis before unsealing the pricing, and that Dan Richard made a pretty big deal out of this publicly, as I recall, and the authority did. And what I read subsequently was that, as you stated, he was authorized to make only minor adjustments. So the question then that I'm not expecting you to have a clear answer on is, how will the rest of the board respond to this? And is there an intention to really question whether the rest of the board are acting as independent board members, or are they really now just kind of empty hats that fall in line with Dan Richard?
That will be the question. That will be the key part of, I'm sure, the next meeting. We will make public statement, questioning this process. But it will be interesting to see. I think the board generally falls in line with Chairman Richards very well. However, as we saw with some of the items that came up recently, there has been dissent. I would hope that they would act as an independent board and do their oversight duties.
Well, I would suggest that the political pressure would be to question in advance whether they are empty hats. and allow them to disprove that.
Prove your manhood, in effect?
Well, in this sense, prove that they're real board members. They gave explicit restrictions on the authority that Chairman Richards would have. And yeah, I think framing it that way in advance of the meeting will put them on the spot to live up to their obligations.
Has the board formally awarded the contract to...
No, they have not. They have not. So the question is still out there.
I don't seem to be able to do anything right. I can't even get the phone system to work.
Now, my question on this
Yes, ma'am.
also is, there were gifts given in the past for tours in China and stuff of board members. Has there been any connectivity with any of the bidders on this? And they don't need to disclose it. This is what we understand it. It's not something that if we get gifts, we have to disclose it. They don't have to, because I guess they're being given to the board, and then the board selects who goes off and does this. Is there any connectivity there with any of the bidders on this project?
The internet is full of gossip and rumors about some of this.
Okay.
It is not I have not seen anything come forward yet. I know that I can't really speculate. I don't know the facts.
Okay, all right. Well, it's just, if something comes up or you hear something, I think that would be of interest to me.
It would be interesting. They do have to disclose conflicts. Chairman Richard.
Sort of. They have a different version of
Yeah, they have
conflicts than the
different-
rest of us, so.
Chairman Richard, I believe, abstained from the vote on the bidding because he had some prior contacts or relationships, but I do not know the details, or I do not have that exact.
That was with Parsons Transportation, that he had prior consulting or some financial relationship, and they're one of the key subcontractors for Tudor in this proposal. So he changed the rules. He had the authority to change the rules to favor a company that he has a conflict of interest with, but that he then recused himself after he changed the rules to do that.
Jim,
That's my understanding.
This is from Jim?
That's what I've read.
when the flowers were trimmed.
You publicly did that. Thank you very much. Yeah.
I'm sorry, we.
I thought you were going to do a wager or something.
No,
like
no,
I'm
no,
going
no,
to
no.
put money on the table.
That was money
Yeah.
I've been forgetting to give it to you, so that's...
Yeah. You're number one, just so you know.
So-
Yeah. Okay, let's, I want to...
I know that, and then also, the Surface Transportation Board is currently reviewing the application by High Speed Rail as well, and we will see whether that gets hung up or whether they get an exemption, which I'd be surprised. So these things are all happening. Obviously, every 30-day period is an exciting one in High Speed Rail. This project never ceases to have plenty of twists and turns. The bids, I think, will be a major issue as it comes from put forward, and will probably lead to could lead to litigation or lawsuits, but I'm not aware of that.
When is it scheduled to be heard by the full board?
The board will have, it's not up for it, they will not approve the bids at this upcoming meeting, but I'm sure it will be discussed. If not, it'll certainly be brought forward in public comment.
One other thing, the changes to this bidding procedure that were done without any public disclosure from their prior commitment. My understanding is that happened actually quite some time ago, while the legislature was actually voting on the high-speed rail bill. That had already occurred and they didn't disclose it. Is that your understanding?
I'm not exactly sure the date. I know that SB 1029, I'm pretty sure passed prior to this changes.
I was recently told that wasn't the case. That was to my surprise that it happened so long ago, but that would be interesting to verify.
It would be, and I know that we're very fortunate in this project to have excellent volunteers that help out and are very good at researching this type of information. So, frankly, they are worth their weight in gold.